Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right. We're ranking Sinners. Sinners is a 2025 American horror film in which twin brothers Smoke and Stack return to 1930s Mississippi to open a juke joint only to confront a supernatural evil. It's a movie that got a lot of hype, a lot of people enjoyed it, and honestly I thought it lived up to the hype for the most part. There was some things I was disappointed in. Let's get into why with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? This is by far my biggest gripe with the film. I thought it was a good film, but I think these plot problems are honestly hold it back from being a great film. What bothers me the most is the way that the vampires are written into this story. It feels incredibly lazy and was not done very well. There is a significant portion of this movie in the beginning in which it has nothing to do with vampires. Vampires aren't even mentioned. It's just purely setting up characters in the world they live in. And honestly, that was more than entertaining on its own. I do think that this movie could have been really, really good without any vampires in it. You just needed some sort of different conflict towards the end. But the vampires just feel completely unnatural and forced by the time they enter the movie. I do like the vampires. I like the way that they handled them, but the way they put them into the story just did not feel smooth at all. It felt very, very forced. This movie is honestly split into two for me. It is the movie prior to vampires and the movie with vampires. And I don't want to spoil what the plot is, but once the vampires enter the movie, the reasoning for why the plot continues and things happen starts to get lazy and doesn't really make sense, and it starts to get to this cheesy kind of horror movie way in which things progress. And it sucked because I was really enjoying the movie a lot, and then it turned into somewhat of a movie that was just stereotypical and having these weird reasons for things moving on, and I just didn't like it. It was one thing after another. I think the vampires could have been a cool part of the story, but they needed to intertwine them into it earlier in the movie rather than feeling so forced and weirdly put into the movie so far into it. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? If you love vampire movies, I think you will love this movie. If you're somebody who just enjoys a movie that has some quality cinematic aspects, then you will enjoy this movie as well. It is fairly long to just be an entertaining movie that I think anybody could watch. I do think you have to value one of those two things to really enjoy this movie. But if you do, I would definitely suggest watching it. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? I thought this movie had a theme, a message about cultural identity. I thought this was about a group, a community of Black people in this town coming together and embracing their culture together, especially through music. I really enjoyed the theme of this movie. I thought the message was nice. You can very easily use this time period to prosecute white people, to say, look at the actions that they did in these days. Look how terrible how they treated Black people, how awful they are. Though that is true, it's just kind of dark, and I liked how they took that, and instead of not ignoring it, there are messages about what this community of Black people have been through in a very recent time, into what they are continuing to go through in that time period. Rather, it was just about them having a place of their own through this juke joint, about coming together and embracing their culture together, enjoying themselves, enjoying music, and just having a new chapter. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a very positive theme and was fun to watch. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? The dialogue in this movie is handled really well. They feel very authentic. It felt very real. This felt like actual people talking to one another. And not only did it flow smoothly between characters, the topics, the subjects in which they were talking about were very interesting. Also, the characters felt very unique. All these people felt like they had very different personalities, and the way they talked was important to that, especially to the twins. They felt like different people because they acted like different people, but they also talked very differently. The way they approached problems was very different. It was just nice. It was an entertaining way to approach conversations. You're learning about these characters and their past as the movie goes along. You're just catching these little things that they say that educate you on who these characters are without having to do an entire backstory. I think that is what makes dialogue, that's how you know you have good dialogue, is when you can assume an entire personality, an entire history from a character without them ever talking about it directly. You just have to pick up on it through the certain things that people say to them, or the way they say things to them and the way they respond. It was very well done. Definitely had a very unique, smooth feel to it as far as just quality. It is funny at times. There's a couple jokes I didn't love, but there's quite a few jokes in here that I thought were well done, and I definitely laughed a couple times. It is one of the high points to this movie. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? Now, I want to say all the actors and actresses in this movie, I would say 90% of them did a really good job. There's just the overall average quality of acting is high in this movie. However, I think Michael B. Jordan is by far the standout. Now, he plays Smoke and Stack, he plays the twins in this movie, and he does an amazing job. And this is a role that I feel really elevates him. I don't think he's had that role. He did a good job with a movie, the movies like Creed, but this is a movie to show, hey, I can act in all kinds of ways. He plays two very different characters. They approach things differently. They felt like two different people, and that's not something that everybody can pull off. I think he does it really well. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? They did an excellent job with the cinematography here. It definitely elevated the movie. There's a lot of really well shot scenes in this movie. I'd say one of my favorites is, it seems kind of small, but there's a shot in which they follow the Asian storekeeper's daughter from one store across the street to the other to go get her mother, and then you follow her back. It's just a shot that is not in every movie. It's a long continuous shot that makes it feel like this town is real, that it's lived in, because you see all these things going on as she's going over there. It's a period in time that is usually cut in movies, but it was left in. It's just a unique shot, a unique perspective that I enjoy seeing. There's a couple of those in this movie where they're trying to just show you things that aren't necessarily cut and paste like a lot of movies. It's a little unique, a little different, a different kind of perspective. Now, wardrobe-wise, I loved the wardrobe. I think people felt unique. One thing I loved was these twins, obviously played by the same actor. They're going to be hard to tell apart, but they wear two very distinct colored hats. One is red, one is blue. They are completely different kinds of hats, and they match their personality, but they also they stand out in every scene, but they were in a great way. I feel like that wardrobe was underrated. The way that they dressed people and had people presented was very important, and I don't want to overlook that. I thought there was some time spent there, and they made a difference to you while you were watching the movie. Even if you didn't really notice, those hats made it incredibly easy to keep track of who is who. And that was really important in this movie. If you're sitting there thinking about, wait, which one is this? Then it's taking away from the movie, but you didn't even have to think about it because they made a conscious wardrobe choice to separate those two in a way that was very identifiable but didn't feel out of place. I thought that was super well done. Now, I may not have liked the way the vampires were introduced into this movie, but the vampires were handled really well. I liked that they kept them to what is a stereotypical vampire, the rules of a vampire. I like it. I like it when they stick to those kind of things. I can enjoy it when they go differently, but I just thought it fit well for this movie. The one thing I did not like was the intelligence of these vampires. Vampires are cunning creatures. One of the rules is that they have to get invited in, and in order to do that as an animal, if you are going to survive and you need to be invited in places, you have to be very charismatic and you have to be smart. You have to play into people's emotions to get yourself into places that normally you wouldn't be. And I didn't think these vampires did a great job with that. But with every other aspect, I really enjoyed them. I thought they were scary. I think these are some of the scariest vampires I've ever seen in a movie, period. I loved that rather than just kind of sucking blood out of you, they literally took chunks out of you. They bit chunks out of you. That is scary. Their nails are crazy. They fly. There's just so many aspects to them that was like, if I had to face these things in real life, I would be terrified. So, though I may not have loved their integration to the story, I did love the way they handled vampires. I thought they were incredibly scary. They felt like something that I did not want to mess with. Seventh is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 2 hours and 17 minutes long. It was entirely too long. I was hoping this movie was going to end by the time it was winding down. I was ready for it to end probably 20 minutes earlier at least. This movie could have been a 2-hour movie and been good. Honestly, I think it could have been maybe an hour 50 and been good, but 2 hours and 17 minutes was entirely too long. Eighth is soundtrack. The soundtrack to this movie was very present. It was definitely integrated into the plot. It was central to this movie, and I thought they handled it really well. Now, music is something that is somewhat subjective on whether you're going to like it or not. I personally did. I really enjoyed when the music was present. It definitely felt like a part of the plot, and that helps. It adds depth to the movie in a way that movies that don't have music can't do. I like that they made it part of the plot, but music itself was really good, and it's one of the rare times in which I think I would listen to this music outside of the movie. Ninth is directing. Now, I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. Now, the director of this movie is Ryan Coogler, and this was his 5th film. The 5 movies that he's directed to this point are Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and finally Sinners. I have only seen Creed. I saw it forever ago when it came out. I don't remember it all that much. I do remember enjoying it, but based on how I feel about that movie and this movie, I think he's an excellent director. I think he is definitely going the right direction. It's a shame with the plot. I didn't enjoy that. That's something, to me, that's a huge sin as far as cinema goes. You can do all of these things great, but if your plot doesn't work, it's going to be a bad movie. And not that this plot doesn't work, but it just fell off at the end, and I hated that. But there's so many aspects to this movie that I absolutely loved that make me remember why I enjoy watching movies. There's just feelings that cannot be had without watching a movie and seeing the way it is presented. Storytelling is such an art form, and I enjoy when they do things in such a creative way that make it incredibly interesting. And I think he has that talent to give you a perspective on a story that you wouldn't have had before and have a movie that stands out and stands the test of time. I think he is getting there. I'm excited to see what else he's going to make. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? I do think it will stand the test of time in some way. I'm just kind of unsure. It has a lot of good aspects to it, and it is a movie that I would go back to again. It's a movie that if I asked somebody if they had seen it and they hadn't, I'd be like, well, we should watch that movie. So I think in some ways, yes, it will stand the test of time, but we will see. I don't know how well it will actually age. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 98, the audience gives it a 97, and IMDb gives it an 82. 98 and 97, I get it. I think, honestly, we've all been kind of brainwashed because there's been so many trash movies that have been released since I started doing this YouTube channel. So having a movie that has some excellent qualities to it is like, wow, awesome, great. I'm super excited about this, but compared to every movie ever made, 98 to 97 is just way too much. It's not that high. When you start getting in the 90s, you're really starting to critique movies down, especially compared to every movie ever made. So that's just too high for me. 82, I think, is closer to where I am at. I think I'm more in the 85 range. It's just solid. It's got a lot of good aspects to it. I think this movie easily could have been at least a 90 without some of the problems that it has. And the biggest problem that it has is that plot problem that it just isn't nice. It's not nice to have there. It really knocks it down for me. I think this is a solid B movie with a lot of A quality aspects to it, but a real B execution in probably one of the biggest parts of a movie, which is the plot, the story. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2025, out of 16 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be fourth, just below Mickey 17 and above Snow White. Now I have it above Snow White. Snow White is definitely a children's movie, and though it was okay and I didn't mind watching it, it was good enough. Sinners is definitely a better movie. Now it is a very long movie, and that really puts it down for me on entertainment because it is a commitment and it was too long for me. And it is definitely a serious movie that has some dark tones, but it just has some qualities to it that are just excellent. They're really well done, and I would enjoy watching them again over what Snow White is, which is just honestly just, it does okay, and it's not even meant for me. It's meant for little girls. Now I do have it below Mickey 17. These movies are honestly very similar. They're movies I enjoyed. They're movies that had aspects to them that were really well done cinematically, and they both had plot problems towards the end and went a direction I didn't love. However, Mickey 17 is definitely more light-hearted. Sinners is more cinematic. It definitely has a more serious tone. Mickey 17 is a dark comedy. It just has that comedy aspect that makes it easier to watch, and I think I would watch it more because of that. Now, cinematically, out of 16 total movies, it is going to be first above Dogman. It's finally the only cinematic made movie that just executes well enough. It just does a good job, where there's been some cinematic movies, but they just don't do a good job with what they're doing. Sinners does. Though I critique it, it's because I wanted it to be a great movie, but it is still a good movie. It is above Dogman, and Dogman isn't even supposed to be cinematic. It definitely has an art style that is interesting, is a good entertainment movie, but it's surprisingly emotional. It has some emotional things in there with a nice little theme, but Sinners just has a much more serious presence. It is made for cinematography, and honestly, just, they're not even that comparable. For the decade of the 2020s, out of 52 movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 24th, just below Conclave and above Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It is in the section of movies that I would watch again. However, it's on the bottom because it has a serious tone. It gets dark, but honestly, it is so long. It's just entirely too long. So I have it above Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That is a movie that is honestly there because I just love the Ghostbusters world, and it is an okay movie. It has a lot of problems, but it's just being saved by the franchise in which it is in. Sinners is just more there because it is a good movie that I would watch again. I do have it below Conclave, and that is just because Conclave is just smoother of a movie. I do believe it is a little shorter, and it's easier to watch because though it is a serious topic, it's more of a little bit of a mystery, and it's just smoother. It doesn't have that fall off in the plot that Sinners does. I just think it's going to be a movie I prefer to watch, but honestly, the list is getting big enough that if you're going to change some of these, it wouldn't really bother me. Cinematically, out of 52 total movies, it is going to be 11th, just below Conclave again, and above Nosferatu. Now, I do have it above Nosferatu, though I do think that plot problem in Sinners that is just not so smooth is somewhat of a crime cinematically. It just does other things much better than Nosferatu. Nosferatu had a good tone, and it had some interesting visuals, but Sinners has much better storytelling, and I feel that is definitely important when it comes to filmmaking as an art form. I do have it below Conclave again. It's just smoother. It's a smoother movie, has some cinematic scenes as well. The acting is also good. The conversations are very interesting. They share some things that are really well done. I just don't love the plot problem in Sinners. To me, it bothers me a little bit. I think having plot problems is such a crime cinematically, and so I put Conclave above it for being just smoother. Now, all time, out of 66 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 36th, just below Conclave and above Treasure Island from 1990. Now, I do have it above Treasure Island. Definitely an easier watch as far as entertainment. I think the story is just more compelling. It's more interesting. The characters are more interesting. The world is more interesting than Treasure Island. Treasure Island was also way too long. Sinners is just a movie that has more personal parts, that are a storyline that is more attractive and interesting to me. Now, it's below Conclave for the exact same reasons as before. Now, cinematically, out of 66 total movies, it is going to be 16th, just below Conclave and above Nosferatu. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. Okay, that's all I've got for Sinners. A good movie. I really liked a lot about it. I just think the vampire aspect really bothered me. Please let me know your thoughts about this movie. Did you love it as well? Did you think the vampires were smoother than I thought they were? Did you enjoy them more than me? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Just want to know your opinion. That's the whole reason I made this channel, is to interact with people who also love watching movies. I just wanted to have some conversations and make a little community here. That was the whole reason I made this channel. If you're interested in somebody who does the same format as me, then go check out my best friend Bosso Movie Reviews. He does the same thing I do, where he compares movies in the same year, decade, and all time, but he does TV shows and he's in one concise entire list rather than two. I think that might appeal to some people more. But otherwise, make sure to comment a movie that you want me to review and subscribe so that you can see me watch that movie. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.